He just said that there was a shooting and they were being detained in a room.
We stopped over here, and as soon as we heard about it, we stopped and prayed for the folks inside.
One of the first officers that the chief and I saw come out was just covered in blood.
A frightening day in Albuquerque. 3 dead and 4 hurt in an office rampage. For hours, confusion ruled the city. People evacuated Emcore and neighboring businesses, hoping to see their families. Everyone was asking the same questions. How many people were shot? How many were killed? And what happened to the suspected shooter? Tonight, Action 7 News has the answers with team coverage you could count on.
And breaking news right now, we have the name of the office rampage shooting suspect. Several sources tell us it is 37-year-old Robert Reza. As we told you during our 5 o'clock newscast, we knew the name of this individual. We just were not ready to put it on the air. Now we are. Our sources tell us he shot and killed the mother of his children and one other person before he committed suicide. And this is a live look from Sky 7 where it all started this morning at the Emcore office building on Eubank across the street from the gate at Kirtland Air Force Base. Right now, the scene is creating a massive traffic issue on Eubank, but crews have reopened a portion of that street from Central to Southern.
And also we want to show you can see what things looked like earlier as police flooded the streets searching for Robert Reza and any survivors. Later, Albuquerque Police Chief Ray Schultz confirmed that 3 people were dead, including Reza, and 4 more people were rushed to the hospital with gunshot wounds.
We have a team of reporters following the story. Natalie Swaby, Lacey Crisp, Alana Gold, and Brian Martin, all live in the field.
We first begin with Natalie Swaby, who has been at the scene since the first reports of that shooting this morning. Natalie.
Yes, Shelley, Doug, we're able to give you a closer look at the scene because Albuquerque police have moved their crime scene back, and that's the building where it happened. Emcore Corporation. Inside that very parking lot is where the lone gunman's vehicle was found, according to APD. And we're also learning very specific details about this. Albuquerque police telling us that police officers were actually scooping up the bodies of victims when they first got here around 9:30, a little before that this morning. Some of them wounded, putting them into their squad cars and driving them down this road to where it was safe for an ambulance to pick the people up and get them to the hospital. And we also are hearing from the police chief himself that the gunman used to work here, but he came here on a mission to shoot the mother of his children. Just before 9:30 Monday morning, the shots rang out in southeast Albuquerque.
But sometimes, even being quick on the scene within just minutes, we can't avoid a tragedy, and that's what we had today in our community was a tragedy.
A tragedy in the workplace with people killed and wounded at the Emcore Corporation.
What we're able to announce now is that we have less victims.
At first, Albuquerque police thought 6 people were dead, but as the confusion cleared, it was confirmed. 2 people were killed and 4 wounded before the gunman turned the weapon on himself.
Don't know if they were specific targets or if they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
What police do know is one intended target was a woman, an Emcore employee that the gunman had 2 children with and a rocky relationship. You also mentioned domestic violence in their past. Anything else about the shooter that you know now?
All we know is that the female, the target of today's original assault here, had told other employees that she had concerns of domestic violence, and she had told coworkers that she was going to report that to law enforcement.
And unfortunately, we know the gunman was able to get here first. Now, we do not know the identity of the victims right now. We do not know if the intended target was wounded or if she's among the deceased. We're still waiting for more information. Some other things that we hope to be able to bring you more details about: the surveillance video. There is some. They have cameras inside the buildings, which Albuquerque police and the FBI are reviewing. And they're also still interviewing so many people, 85 people in the building where the shooting happened, more people in the building that's adjacent, and about 700 people work in this area. So police are still talking to people, trying to get details. They're going to have a press conference here at 7 o'clock tonight, and we're going to be here, and we're going to bring you the very latest. Doug, Shelley?
And Natalie, a lot of people talking about how he actually got into that building today. What are some of the stories you're hearing out there?
Shelley, I think I heard a bit of that. You said, how did he get in the building? That's a big question. We know, we were able to talk with the spokesperson for Emcore who says, you need a badge. There is security. So what the police chief told us from, preliminary reports is that this gunman just forced his way in. We know he was armed with at least 1 handgun. So we're still waiting for the specifics of how it all unfolded, but it's a situation where he forced himself in.
All right, Natalie, thanks. Well, hard to even imagine this happening, but it certainly was a terrifying day for Emcore employees and their families. Police bused employees to the Manzano Mesa Community Center. Armed guards surrounded the buses because police weren't sure if there was more than one shooter or if any employees were involved.
Police questioned about 200 people. Action 7 reporter Lacey Crisp is live at the community center where police took those workers.
Well, that's right, Doug. About 200 people were brought here, but I was just given an update that all but about 25 have been able to go home to their loved ones. Now, they were bused here because most of those employees, they didn't have their IDs, they didn't have cell phones, they couldn't verify who they were. So police had to go through one by one to make sure they knew exactly who was here and to make sure who was connected to the shooting, to put together all the pieces of exactly what happened today. Meanwhile, loved ones waited outside anxiously to find out if the Emcore workers were safe. Dawn Poppin came to pick up her husband from Manzano Mesa Community Center. He's an engineer at Emcore and called her right away this morning to tell her he was okay.
He just said that there was a shooting and they were being detained in a room. He wasn't sure how many people were hit at that time. They were just kind of detain them and keep them in a safe area.
She said she had just turned on the news as her husband called to tell her what was going on.
Kind of both. My daughter turned the news on and saw that there was a shooting at Emcore. So we reacted, and right away, I mean, our phone was blowing up.
Her husband wasn't close to where the shooter went on his rampage.
Oh my God, I just wanted to get to him, my daughter and I. We just wanted to just make sure he was okay.
Poppin's husband and 10 others hid in a room and called loved ones from inside.
I believe he was in a meeting at the time and he just saw the reaction from people who were running. And
news of the shooting quickly spread across the country.
We have relatives from New York and New Jersey and California, and of course my family's here. So we've been in close contact with all of our family members just to let them know that he's okay.
And I spoke with several family members today. Most of them said they were just too much in shock to talk to us on camera. One common theme, most people here had tears in their eyes. They just couldn't believe what happened here today. I did speak with one Emcore employee. As he came back here, he ran. As soon as he heard the shots, he was so frightened. He ran from the building. He did come back to answer any police questions. Reporting live, Lacey Crisp, KOAT, Action 7 News.
I'd imagine it was somewhat hysterical there, Lacey. When we saw some people getting off the buses, it was relatively calm, but you described that one man who came running back. Just give us some more about the emotion of what was going on there.
You know, it seemed that everyone seemed to be in shock that something like this, the terror like this, would happen in Albuquerque. I think a lot of people were just in shock and didn't quite know what to expect. You know, you're following an armed guard, you know, in a protected Hummer on your way to a community center. So I think people were just in a sense of shock today.
All right, Lacey, thanks. We have a team investigating the suspect in this office rampage. Again, 37-year-old Robert Reza. This is the mugshot of Reza from a DWI arrest in 2003. He is the confirmed shooter in this office rampage, and we've learned police are looking beyond Albuquerque.
Rio Rancho police are also looking in on this case. As we told you first at 5, we had Alana Gold out there live. She's covering some breaking news right now, so we'll try to bring you that possibly during this newscast or during one of our cut-ins later on this evening.
And we've learned that Reza had been living with his family here in Albuquerque.
Action 7 reporter Will Carr just returned from that neighborhood and has the story.
Doug and Shelley, people who know Robert Reza tell us that he'd been living with his family here in Albuquerque and say that recently he'd been acting like he had mental problems. Now, we went to the Northeast Heights area where neighbors say Reza had been staying with his family. We found 2 trucks in the driveway, but neighbors tell us his family left town shortly after news of the shooting broke. We're told that Reza had been living there for a while and had been talking to anybody that would listen, but a painful divorce that he'd been going through. And neighbors tell us that recently Reza had been acting very strangely. In fact, one neighbor tells us Reza went to his house at 4 in the morning several days ago and just wanted to talk about that divorce. Now, neighbors also tell us that police stopped by the house Reza had been staying at earlier today.
Well, it's kind of scary to think that it's that close to your house, you know, you never know. I mean, I never really talked to the guy, but that's kind of makes me nervous with my kids, you know what I mean? I have 3 kids that run around here all the time.
It's kind of scary for the kids in the neighborhood because there are quite a few of them usually out playing with the water hoses.
And Doug, this actually isn't the first time that house has been in the news in recent years. We'll tell you what that other high-profile case is coming up tonight on Action 7 News at 10.
And well, there's a lot of confusion earlier. The chief talked about being the wife or the girlfriend. Who exactly is the woman he was targeting? It could it possibly be the ex-wife was the girlfriend they were trying to reconcile.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's a really fluid situation right now. The police are saying it's a girlfriend. They're saying it's a domestic dispute. His neighbors who tell us that they know him pretty well are saying that he kept complaining about going through the divorce and that he was actually tortured by that divorce. We've checked the court records to see if we could find any papers on the divorce. We have not found those so far, but if we do, we'll be sure to bring those to you as soon as possible.
Whatever, they were very concerned about Robert Reza out there.
That's right. Sure. Everybody seems to agree on that, and that this couple actually had 2 small children. Everybody agrees on that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Kelly?
Now, immediately following the shooting, a massive police presence swarmed the area surrounding Emcore. Law enforcement officials created a barricade, halting traffic. John Salazar has that part of the story.
Okay, let me make sure you got nobody hiding back here with you.
Trunks, back seats, truck beds, all searched thoroughly by police.
It's the first that I've seen a whole city block completely just closed down from an incident like this. I mean, it's crazy.
Traffic stood at a standstill with an area lockdown in effect. Law enforcement officials on the lookout for possible suspects and weapons following the tragic shooting at the Emcore fiber optics facility.
Hi, ma'am. How you doing?
Waiting in traffic, drivers encountering confusion and speculation with the facts still in limbo.
My son called me on my cell phone indicating that there had been a shooting at his work, that he was fine, but he didn't know what else was going on at that time.
The dragnet, a minor inconvenience considering the overall safety of the community.
It's good. We need a response like this, especially when something like this happens. Locking down the whole city block is the best solution.
John Salazar, KOAT Action 7 News.
5 people were transported to UNM Hospital, and one of the people there died in the operating room.
Action 7 News reporter Brian Martin has been at the hospital all day long. Brian, talk about how the hospital responded to this.
Yeah, well, Doug and Shelley, you talked to hospital officials, and they tell me this afternoon that they think they did a great job in handling this. Now, earlier today, 3 people transported here to the hospital by ambulance. Another 2 people brought here by fire officials here in Albuquerque. Now, in a total, 5 people, 4 women, 1 man. Doctors say 1 woman died on the operating table in the emergency room. Another person was taken to the operating room and is now in guarded condition. 3 others are now out of trauma and are in stable condition in the ER. When doctors got the call this morning about the shooting, they activated their EOC, or Emergency Operations Center. The incident commander of today's EOC says they drill and practice situations like this all the time.
We're the Level 1 Trauma Center in New Mexico. This is what we train for. This is what we do. My job was easy as the incident commander. I just stood by and let our good folks do their good work, and they did a superb job.
Now, officials tell me here at the hospital that they took the ER out of lockdown about an hour and a half ago. They are also asking family members, or friends rather, of family members of the victims and the co-workers as well to stay away from the hospital, at least for now, to try to allow everybody to really understand what's going on here. Reporting live at UNMH, Brian Martin, KOAT Action 7 News.
Brian, you have an update on the severity of the other 4 people who were injured and taken to the hospital?
Well, the severity of them, they're not really getting into any of the details as far as the types of the wounds that they received. We asked about the shooting wounds today. They didn't really talk about any of those. Again, 3 of them are in stable condition. 1 remains at guarded condition at this hour. And of course, that will continue to be updated throughout the day. Back to you.
All right, Brian, thanks. And as we head to break, here's another live look from our Sky 7 as police continue their investigation into the office rampage shooting at Emcore Fiber Optics in southeast Albuquerque this morning. When we return, more on this tragic story, and we'll let you know the response from Emcore company executives in a live report. And we continue to follow the developing story today of 3 people dead after a gunman went on a shooting rampage at a southeast Albuquerque office building. It is a story we brought to you first on Action 7 News this morning. Police surrounded Emcore near Kirtland Air Force Base around 9:30.
Authorities say Robert Reza opened fire inside the building, shooting 6 people and killing 2 of them before committing suicide. Now, police had shut down traffic, locked down buildings, and searched car by car as they looked for the gunman before they had realized he was inside the building and had shot himself.
And Emcore officials are speaking out about the tragic shooting that has taken 3 lives today.
Action 7 News reporter Christy Leto joins us live with more from the scene. Christy?
And not too long ago, we heard from the chief operating officer at Emcore, Chris LaRocca, who gave a statement that was very much directed to his employees, their well-being, and how they're coping with this tragic shooting. LaRocca says they don't have very many details about the shooting, but to recap, we know the shooter used to work at Emcore. He killed 3 employees and wounded 4 others. Emcore says they are mourning the loss of those employees shot and killed and have decided to close for the next couple of days. Now they are offering services to those who are having difficulties with this tragic incident.
Emcore will continue to offer counseling to guide employees through the grieving process. It is critical that we take care of the employees, families, and victims of this horrendous event.
Now, Emcore has given a hotline number which they wanted us to broadcast, 750-1584, again for employees that are having difficulties dealing with this tragic incident. Now, we did ask Emcore in their press conference earlier today, what kind of security they had in place and if they plan to step up security at all because of this shooting to make sure it doesn't happen again. They didn't answer those questions at the time, but they did say that they would be answering them at their 7 p.m. press conference, which starts in less than 45 minutes. Reporting live in Southeast Albuquerque, Christy Aletto, KOAT Action 7 News.
And many of you are wondering what Emcore is. The company is based in Albuquerque and has offices in California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, China, and Europe. Emcore makes fiber optic components for the solar power industry. Now, the company is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Emcore is not affiliated with the Sandia National Labs. The company does, however, lease space inside the Sandia Science and Technology Park.